my death urge, I will go on living in eternal health and youthfulness. When you can know that to be true, and it's easy to know it to be true because you're alive now. So your life urge must be stronger than your death urge.
All right, so it is on. We are here chilling. Congo appears to be lighting up a chalice,
Christos living.
saying his Hebrew prayer that I'm not going to even try to say out loud. Yeah, so we're just vibing. I wanted to ask the main man some interesting things to get our minds and hearts stimulated and inspired. So give a little bit of space for the Ganjika to go to the face, and I know some dope words inevitably come next. Life is all that there is. I can hear that with my mind, and I can even make some stories, thoughts, and ideas about what that means. I would love to get a glimpse into what that means to you.
Well, how can there be anything other than what is?
And all there is life.
How could there be anything? You have to be alive. You have to be alive. So if you're not alive, you don't be. So it's not a thing. That's all there is life.
And rocks.
What about rock?
Maybe a lot of people would think, like, well, rocks aren't alive.
Life is all it to be alive,
Mm.
to exist, right?
Yeah,
No? I don't know.
that's what feels right, for sure. But then when we die, doesn't that take away from life, or death is a choice, you're saying? We have a death urge or a life urge. I've heard you say based on, I think it was trauma, is where the death urge comes from. Is that correct?
Well, the first thing I say is I'll cancel the when we die part. Cancel, clear, delete that part because even though there is a death to do every day, I don't think you're talking about that one. When you said that physical immortality is a completely real thing, and if you need evidence for it, just look right under you at the most humble thing. Earth, she been here I don't know how long, but way longer than any scientist who has told you when she's gonna die. And she's been here way longer than any scientist who told you when the sun is gonna die, that a planet is gonna die. If you need an example of immortality and how the immortals live, if you can't fathom it in a human yet, then look at a sun and look at the earth, look at the sky. These are real living beings, real physical living beings.
And I know in your book, forgive me not exactly remembering the name, but it was something along the lines of proof of or actual physical representations of physical
Living
mortality.
examples.
Living examples of physical mortality. You mentioned a couple animals. I know we've actually spoken about this recently, but if I would love to, like, because it's so dense of an idea, that'd be fun to hear again about the jellyfish and how they rebirth. Well, they get younger after birthing.
After they have sex, as soon as they have sex, they revert to a prepubescent state. So they're doing something called youthing, and a lot of people think that's just nothing. There's no such thing. I've coined the term longevity because longevity just means to live long, but to stay ever young is the goal. And that is what I can learn from the immortal jellyfish. Even here in this town, I see a big mural of the axolotl salamander, and those are ones you chop their limbs off and they grow back. People think that's some science fiction. To think a human could do that, they won't believe you. To think a human can grow new sets of teeth, to think a human can elongate their body and become taller or shrink, all of these things are possible. The cities, the magic powers that the ancient cultures spoke on in almost all of the writings and traditions that I've been able to partake of are real, but they're not there so people can exert power over others. They're there for acts of service and love. That's why we walk. Walking is a magic power. To get up and walk is something our body can do. To levitate is something our body can do. So do you tell a child don't walk because you can walk over there and slap someone? No. The same way you don't tell a person don't learn how to levitate because there's dangers that come with that. No. But you teach people how to be responsible, loving, and let them know that all the cities and magic powers are for them. Just like walking and talking and any other skill you can build is for you to But it's not for you to exert power over another, it's for us to serve others. Teleportation will be the next huge advancement in society, but it won't happen until there's enough people that know it can happen, and it only happens through love. The new technologies that are going to be born out of love, out of love's power.
One of my favorite things I've ever heard you speak about is Babaji and your direct encounter, how you met Leonard Orr. Am I saying that correctly? Leonard Orr?
Oh yeah, don't just meet him. He can come stay at the crib, and I
Right.
stay at his crib.
Yeah, like you
You
had this
know,
whole interaction with this person who,
it's my
um,
friend.
yeah, that's so cool to know and connect with someone firsthand that encountered the Maha Avatar Babaji.
Well, yes, but here's the thing. There'll be people who say, no, that's not Babaji, or this is the real Babaji, or this is that. And everyone's trying to overlay a certain idea upon these happenings and characters. And the mystery is to find Babaji in all of our relations. That's the great fun, the great play, the great Leela, is to find God in all of our relations, in every single person we're relating, and not know. And to really not know, be like, wait, are you Maha Avatar Babaji? Is he? Am I? Well, I better live and serve accordingly. That's the greatest. So did he? Yeah, I, because I love Leonard and his testimony to me is real, that's why that's real for me. But I've never encountered Babaji beyond inspirational meditation, or maybe I've encountered him in every single person. I don't know. But I'm thinking about Babaji Christ all the time. Interestingly, a Baba Janai is another name of Rastafari, of Haile Selassie. And so for me, it's usually been, I see Babaji in Christ through the lenses of Rastafari. And that's what made make it so real, because Haile Selassie is so real.
Selassie means Trinity.
Yeah, man.
And how is it that that is adopted in every culture?
It's the underlying structure in the universe. Just one last thing related to the previous concept is, what's the guru's name? Who, I forget, he wrote a book maybe called Wings of a Dove or something. Do you know the guru? He's a Kriya guru. He's through Yogananda.
Oh, is it
No,
one of
not
his gurus?
Lahiri, not one of Paramahansa's gurus. He's in a Kriya lineage, and he has a name like Paramahansa or something like that. But he wrote his own little books, and he wrote a book about Babaji. He's a big Babaji devotee. His whole thing is about Babaji, and he makes a lot of distinctions. And I think he may be one of the people that says Hedakan Baba isn't the same Babaji that was in Yogananda's biography. There's different things about that. But this same guru said he met Haile Selassie in 1983. Now, all of the reports in the world said that Haile Selassie disappeared, or, well, first they're saying disappeared, some say died in 1975. But this Babaji devotee said that he was summoned to Selassie to teach him some yoga stuff. Now, let me tell you, Haile Selassie already the king of yoga. He's the immortal king of yoga, Babaji. So it was a Leela. Babaji was playing with his devotee to see if he would recognize him, and he didn't. He recognized him as a great king, and he was like, I don't know how. He's definitely mentioned like, yo, I don't know how I seen him, but it was 1982, and he said he was alive and well. And so that's an interesting connection between Babaji and Selassie for me, because I really think Babaji was playing a trick on one of his devotees. But three is man, woman, and child, length, width, and depth, body, mind, and soul, future, present, past, Trinity. We can go on forever. And that's why it's foundational in all cultures, because it's in nature. It's nature's law that comes forth. into our own lives and into all of our reactions. So to have a relationship with the Trinity in its fullness is important, but that what does that take? It seems like it takes time and patience and a lot of clearing the mind to see nature as it is, to allow what is to be the truth rather than our own suppositions, because we end up seeing the Trinity in everything.
So, in our discussion yesterday about physical immortality, eternal life, it's been causing me to reflect a lot on, from the context, from the tradition that I'm most inspired by, which is Vajrayana Buddhism. There's so much emphasis on impermanence. There's so much emphasis on essentially becoming familiar with death, becoming familiar with the dying process, like even visualizations of that process to become free from the fear of death.
Yes.
So, in your view, is the removal of the fear of death necessary for eternal life?
Yeah.
And if so, is not the desire for eternal embodiment, kind of a flip side of the primordial, fear of death that we often carry with us throughout our lives?
It's a good question. We have to face the fear of death. That's one side of the death conundrum. The other side is the death urge.
Tell me about the death urge.
The death urge is the urge to die. When you have a bad relationship with someone, so many times people say they want to kill themselves. So many times people are feeling so much pain in their body, in mind, they want to kill themselves, in their relationships, that they want to kill themselves. And the death urge happens through relationships dying, businesses dying. The death urge is a psychic entity as well that's built around the belief that everyone must physically die. And so the fear of death and the death urge are both a play of they're both a trick of this entity that's born from beliefs. Watch this. Every movie you see from now on, if you ever look at movies, at some point in the movie, they're gonna say, "We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die." They almost every movie says that we're all gonna. It's that is the program. So you're saying that we're taught to face our death in these ancient traditions, and in so much of our culture, it's affirming it every time where you go around. Life is short. They're always telling you that. People always, but is it making anyone better? Is the thought that you finna die that's being said in all the movies, and none of the movies is it saying, we all have infinite possibilities to live forever. It never says that while people are crashing down a mountain or whatever. It's always screaming some other shit. So if you look at society and what they believe already, and then look at how the results make you question, maybe we got some of it mixed up. Maybe the death urge has been hiding more than the fear of death. Maybe because people are actually calling upon their own deaths in numerous ways and numerous times and affirming the death of everything. Like we said, scientists, what do they say? The earth is going to die someday. The sun is going to die someday. Okay, so is this making us better? What about this? Infinite potential in the earth, in the sun, and in your body, an infinite potential in your true will to create a masterpiece that your true will wants, wishes for, and molds through the grace of God. So, yes, face our fear of death, but we also must face the death urge. We got to clear the death urge. All of the beliefs that get into our head that say physical death of the body is inevitable because of some whatever. You got to ask yourself, who do you think? Who do you think created death? Where? Why does a physical body have to die?
Well, is not death a concept? Like, if we see someone display physical death, it's something that we're perceiving, and then we acknowledge when their body, the energy leaves their body, and it seems that the spirit has departed somewhere. Like, we have the idea, like, oh, they died,
Right.
right? So I think it can get to the point when we start to talk about these things that it's like, what is even death and life, like, or birth and death? If life is not the opposite of death, birth is the opposite of death, right? So even in death, life doesn't die, it just continues on.
Truly does.
So
But what did get impaired is your true will. Don't you want to live? Or do you want to die right now?
I like life.
Exactly. So if ever there's a time, that point right there, we want to light. We're alive. Our true will wants to live. We're gonna live on either side. So who brought about the death though of this physical body on this side that made you not be able to go to the other side and come back at will, bringing forms however you got to do because there's no sides anymore?
But what if we already do that?
How?
Like changing the clothes, of leaving the body, when it's perhaps time. Say if someone took the bodhisattva vow or has that aspiration in their life, perhaps there are different planets or different times where your true will would be the most beneficial to be manifest in, certain times. And so could it not just be that we are immortal beings,
We are.
but we simply shift shape already,
We are. But to whose will? That's the question.
Okay.
Why is you killing off the body when you don't have to, if anything is possible inside of this imaginative substance? Where did the law come from? Who made the law that anyone's physical body has to die? And why does it happen?
But what if it happens out of your control, or at least your conscious control, say natural disaster, or, like even going beyond the thought of disease, like,
Well, there would be no, like for an immortal, fire can't burn their body. They can't be drowned. We cut off their limbs, they grow right back. Natural disaster wouldn't do anything to an immortal. Natural disaster just, disaster, okay, and I'm cool. You can make yourself this small in a natural disaster, and nothing in the disaster would ever touch you because you disappeared from it. And then you come right. That's what we're talking. The shit Milarepa and Padmasambhava do, Nagarjuna, the shit they do it right now.
Yeah.
Like, can we get our mind to that place to be able to say, yeah, we can do that too now? Do you want to leave it to chance to say, well, they said that I can figure it out after I throw this body into the ground? Well, maybe. I'm not going to leave it to that chance. I have life now. I mean, if you knew what life was worth, you would look for yours on earth. And now you see the light. You stand up for your right.
And what about animals? Is it not just in animals' nature like other animals, such as a turtle or tortoise, 100 and some odd years? Different animals.
That's the law. You went out into nature and visited all turtles.
No, I'm just saying from what has been passed down, which of course
Exactly.
is always
Just some guys'
subjective.
findings.
Yeah,
They haven't found all turtles. They haven't found all people. There could be people
yeah,
that never died, they never know about since the beginning of time.
yeah.
So it's why would we ever rule? Like, we can't start from the place of the false science. We have to start from the place of tantra, unlimitedness. And then people want to limit the things. Okay, we'll study a little limited statistics because there may be information there, but we're in imagination right now. We're in mind right now. Why not use it instead of abuse it?
How about the law of impermanence and how the changeless changes, forms? Even when we see just out here, it's all shifting and moving and, light flickering in and out. Is that not a given to all phenomena to arise and dissolve, in the natural way that it does? The sun appears to rise in the sky, and then it appears to set at night, and that helps the whole thing move.
The sun's still here physically, even though it appeared and disappeared.
So are there our loved ones who have appeared to die still here physically in some way from that point of view?
Of course. That's why we connect with our ancestors.
Oh.
Yes, the more strength we have in our ancestral relationships, the more we can clear the DNA and the generational trauma bonds that have been stored in there, so that eventually at some point, some DNA from those lines snaps onto its awareness that, oh, I do have a true will to live. I want to live. I want to live. I'm ready to live. Not that I'm ready to die. Yes, we die every day. Of course. That's a we're not avoiding death with physical immortality. We're actually lovers of death. We want to be here to continue to give death what it requires. But that doesn't mean that there's a law that your physical body has to perish. As far as animals go, animals also have will. Every little piece of creation has a will for physical immortality. That's the impulse that brought the whole universe into existence. And all other universes were tried. The multiverse thing, they were all tried, where they were these possibilities working towards physical immortality. But there's only one of those that has been victorious in the multiverse, and that's this universe. The universe is where this place here, this earth actually, is the one place where physical immortality is being perfected in all of creation right here. This is the most greatest place to be to perfect one's physical immortality. It's all converged to this spot. And all life that's here is aiming for that. That's why it's alive here. It wouldn't be alive if it wasn't, its will wasn't to live. You think this doesn't want to live more abundant and keep growing? You think there's any willingness to die? There's no will in it to die. Not even the flowers that's wilting. There's no will in it to die. The things that are still dying around us are very much linked to our own consciousness as humans, because we've been given domicile over, it says, I'll give you dominion over all animals in nature in the scriptures. And through people started sinning, missing the mark. When you miss the mark, they say the wages of sin is death. So when you miss the mark, you die. It was humans who first missed the mark. And as we did, everything around us that we have dominion over, our mind waves affected it, theoretically. And theoretically, as we continue to strengthen our life urge around the planet, these things, it's like those movies where you see everything turn dark because the mad evil wizard there, and then everything turned back bright and light because there's a joyous loving spirit, some Care Bears type of shit. That's there's reality to that.
How do we strengthen our life urge?
One is by saying, I'm alive now. Therefore, my life urges are stronger than my death urge. As long as I continue strengthening my life urge and weakening my death urge, I will go on living in eternal health and youthfulness. When you can know that to be true, and it's easy to know it to be true because you're alive now. So your life urge must be stronger than your death urge.
And is the display of physical death when that flips and your death urge is stronger than your life urge, or can you have still much life urge and experience physical death from that point of view?
That's a good question. And when it comes to a black and white around that, you know what I'm saying? It's too sensitive of an issue. While we do set, for me, it's too sensitive an issue because I set myself on this path of physical immortality, but I'm never going to devalue or dishonor anyone's transitioning from being embodied here to not. I'll never shame it, think that there's anything wrong, that they didn't have as much as of the juice or anything. Nope. So I can't really give any clear defining of that. I can say practically, we use the affirmation, experimentally, research based. See how it affects you when you say it a bunch of times. See how it really affects you. And when you think it and when it clicks as the truth, I won't go so far to ever dishonor a person's way that they've made any transition. Because I don't know. There's great mysteries that we don't know. Physical immortality is more so about setting a mental intention, setting a physical and physiological routine and outlook, setting a philosophy around these things, and working with the ideas. And so when you're asking me this, that would be part of the philosophy. But you have to know what's practical. I have to know what's practical in my philosophy because my philosophy must be rooted in compassion, understanding, and the ever beginner.
So for someone who, like yourself, who has chosen the path of physical immortality, is opened up to that possibility, if one were to still experience